Well, hey everybody. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. I am on my 2019 Harley Davidson Ultra Limited, cruising around the northwest suburbs of Chicago on a beautiful mid-70s, no clouds in the sky day. And I thought I'd give you a little bit of a review of the Ultra Limited. Now, this is not a stock Ultra Limited, but some of the things I'm going to talk about, it doesn't really matter. So, I'll tell you what I've put on this bike. Got a brand new suspension, the Legends Arc remote reservoir suspension, rear and front. I have the Corbin Fire and Ice seat, which is the heated and air-cooled seat. I have the upgraded sound system by Rockford Fosgate. I have an SNS exhaust. Haven't done any engine upgrades yet. I added some custom dynamics lights. In fact, I've got a couple more coming. But custom dynamics lighting. Long range shield on the front here. I got these little bags. I got bags that are on the fairings, lower fairings. I added some fog lights, extra fog lights. You can't really see them in the camera, but they're up down low. Here's the switch for them right here. I got new grips. I like these grips better than the stock heated grips. These grips are really nice. Got these cool mirrors that have the wide angle section on it. And got some stuff for the bags, like the little luggage and carpets and little pockets. Got the lighted little lights that you can put for the tour pack and the saddlebags, so you can see inside of them at night. Got the mid-frame fan. Boy, highly recommended. Takes the some of the heat from the engine and shoves it down away from you. Works great. I got some LED lights that go along the bottom edge of the windscreen. Man, those are awesome. I don't know if they're custom dynamics or Harley, but they're normally white LED, and then when you turn the turn signal on, one half of them turn into a turn signal, and they kind of do the chase like that. It just looks really cool. So that's pretty much it. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, suspension, sound system, seat, those are big upgrades. Haven't done any engine upgrades at all. So the engine performance and everything I'm going to talk about is stock, except for the exhaust. Okay, so who is this bike for? This bike is really for somebody who's going to be putting on miles. I would say taking trips of more than 100 miles. Can you ride it around town? Sure. It's not as fun. It gets really hot, especially in traffic. Rather be moving like I am doing now. I'm doing 60, just cruising. Somebody who's got some experience. I would hate for this to be your first bike and you drop it moving around and you just screwed up your $30,000 plus motorcycle. Get something until you're used to this. Plus, it's a big engine. It's heavy. The weight distribution is a little higher on this bike, so it doesn't have a low center of gravity. Make sure you're a little heavier. If you're 100 pounds, this bike might not be for you. This bike is, I want to say it's close to 900 pounds, if not more. And moving it around can be a beast. So you got to have a little girth to you, a little strength, unless you're going to have somebody else moving the bike. But even then, when you're riding, you're going to find yourself in tight spots where you got to kind of move around, or you find yourself parked down a hill. And you got to back yourself out. Excuse me. So have some strength and weight to you. Somebody who likes kind of the roughness and the grit of a Harley Davidson. It's not the smoothest engine in the world, but it's uniquely Harley. I have other bikes that are Japanese bikes and they're smooth, smooth, smooth. Harley Davidson is not one of those. This is the Ultra Limited, so it has the Batwing fairing like the Street Glide. But if you were to get the Road Glide version of it, the Limited, it's almost identical bike except for the fairing looks like a shark nose, where this they call the Batwing. I don't care either way. I just had a good deal on this one, so I picked this one, but I would have picked either one. I kind of like this because everything is closer, whereas the Road Glide and the Road Glide Limited, it's farther away. But it would be intriguing to have a fixed fairing bike. So, yeah, if you're going to go 2-up a lot, this is a great bike for that as well. Comfortable back seat for your passenger, they'll love it. If not, you got a nice little spot to put another bag so you can really go some touring and spend several days out on the road. Who else is this for? Somebody who just wants the best of the best. This is the top of the line, unless you go to CVO, is this bike and the Road Glide Limited. So if you're just like, I just want the top of the line, I don't care about all that other stuff, Paul, hey, this is your bike. And it's awesome. Who is this not for? I really don't believe this is a good first bike. Too heavy, too hard to maneuver at first. You're so nervous trying to make U-turns and stuff, forget about it. You'll drop this bike and be ticked that you bought it and wish you got a used bike for your first bike or something. Something cheaper, something smaller. I wouldn't even say this is a good second bike. I think a first bike is like a 750, or if you're in the sport bikes, maybe a 300 or a 500cc. Then your next step up would be like, especially if you're going to go do touring, would be like a 1300cc ST, like an FJR or a BMW. What is there? 1250 mid-level touring bike. Forgot what it's called. You know, something like that, or a smaller Harley. Then I would say your third bike, and after 2 good years of riding, you jump up and spend $30,000+ on the Harley Ultra Limited, or the Street Glide and Road Glide, which is basically the same bike but without the tour pack. These bikes are a little different to maneuver. They take something getting used to. Don't make this your first bike. That's my advice. Okay, who else is this not for? I don't know if I said just tootling around town. Nah. I'd much rather. I don't ever ride this thing unless I'm going to a bike meet or something. I don't ever really ride this thing less than 50 miles at a time. Just don't do it. Right now I'm going up to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, and that's like 40 miles or something like that. But you can see the kind of roads I'm on. They're open roads and they're cruising, touring, not a lot of stop and go. So yeah, not a good around the town, and it's just hard to maneuver. If you're in stop and go traffic, you're gonna bake on this thing, and it's just gonna be hard. You're gonna get tired. So if you're just gonna tool around town, but you want a Harley, get something lighter. Get a Sportster, or Road Glide maybe, but even that is still kind of big. Yeah, I mean, just get a slightly smaller Harley. I mean, they're all great. Harleys are Harleys. Find one that works for you. Who else is this not for? If you don't have a lot of storage room, a lot of people don't think about this. This is a big bike, and it leans pretty far when it's on the side stand. So it takes up a lot of space. So if you don't have a good amount of space where you got some breathing room around it, this might be a difficult bike to own. Now, you can get a lift, a little hydraulic lift that goes under the bike that'll straighten up the bike. But then you got the lift hanging out, so it's taking up space, so you don't have a lot of space to store it. or you're willing to put a car out in the parking lot or the driveway, or whatever. Or maybe if you got a 3-car garage or something, you only got 2 cars, then you're great. But if you don't have a lot of space, you're crammed in, you got a lot of kids running around, a lot of stuff, this bike can be kind of a pain to have around until you're out riding on it. So just be aware, it takes up a lot of room. If you're in California and like to lane split, this isn't your bike for that. It is a wide bike, and you are gonna, I know I've seen people do it, but if you're in a state that allows lane splitting or even filtering, it can be a little difficult on this big bike. It's wide. It's my widest bike. It's wider than my Honda Goldwing. If you're kind of lightweight or don't have a lot of muscle mass, that's not a hit on you, but you need some girth and some muscle to move this thing around. I talked about that just a little bit ago. So don't get this if you're just kind of a dainty lightweight. I'm 250 pounds. You don't have to be 250 pounds, but please don't try to get this thing when you're 115 pounds. Get something lighter and go with that. You'll be fine. I think that's it, really. I mean, when it comes to that. So what are the things I really like about this bike? It is cool looking. There is just something distinctive about Harley Davidsons in general that really makes me feel different when I ride it. I actually feel different on this bike. Now, when I'm on my Ninja 1000 or my Honda Goldwing, even my Ducati X Diavel, I mean, maybe the Ducati gives me a little bit, but when I'm riding a Harley, it just, it brings kind of a cool factor, a good old American sounding, vibrating, shaking engine and bike. Will some screws fall off the bike? Oh, sure. Sure it will. That guy did not pick up speed very quickly, and I'll probably end up going around him. Anyway, what else? I will say that I do not know what this guy is doing, so I'm just going to go around him. He was in a hurry to get in front of me just to have to slow down to turn. Craziness. It's a crazy world, people. I love the sound of this bike. The stock exhaust, but this exhaust, the S&S, beautiful. Has a really nice rumble. Now when I'm just cruising, so right now I just eased off on the gas. It's just kind of a rumble behind the scene, but it's not annoying. You really hear it when I hit the gas. But I love the sound of Harleys with the aftermarket exhaust. And I just love the look of these bikes. They are just cool looking. And I know there's knockoffs, and seems like every brand has a version that they're trying to look kind of like the Harley. And those look cool too, don't get me wrong. I've got one that is a cruiser, but it's a Suzuki. But there's nothing like starting up the Harley, hearing that rumble, and heading out on the road. So now, right now, I'm going to set this thing at just above 60 miles an hour on cruise. All right, I'm on cruise control right now, and I'm cooling off my right hand here just a little bit. And this bike is just cruising beautiful. Not a problem. Nice and smooth. Obviously if there's bumps in the road, they're not going to be so smooth, but look at those guys. I love the motorcycle community where we're just like waving at each other and being like, "Hey, I see you." But man, this bike, like I said, I got it on cruise control. It's just, yeah, I could do this for hours. I have to shift a little bit in my seat every now and then. I just can't sit still. Is there anything I don't like about this bike? Okay. The list is not very long. The balance and weight of it, especially in tight situations, can be very difficult. If you find yourself parking accidentally downhill a little bit, good luck getting this bike out without some help, unless it's a very shallow hill or unless you can drive forward. It's very heavy. The center of gravity is very high on this bike. Number 2, there are some, now this is a 2019, they've corrected a little bit of this in newer versions, 2020, 21, 22. And some of this is because of the emission standards and what they're forcing people to do. The Milwaukee 8 engine wasn't designed for some of these emission standards. So one of the problems is the oil pump. Do some research. If you're buying a 19 or older Milwaukee 8 engined bike, I would highly recommend upgrading the oil pump to be a 2020 or later, or you get the Screaming Eagle. There's just some weaknesses in it, and it doesn't circulate the oil or keep your engine as cool as it could. So the two options are you upgrade it. All the components fit. The engine itself is the same, and the space is the same on all the Milwaukee 8s. Is to either upgrade to, like I said, the 2020 or later version, and basically it's the cylinder inside the pump and then the cover, and then a couple of components inside. Or you get the Screaming Eagle, which is even better. The fit and finish is a little higher, and the componentry and how it's made a little tighter. It's meant for higher performance. Either one, we'll get that. It's just one of the weaknesses. Also, you get blowback on this engine back into the air filter, and the problem with that is that it puts oil back into the engine. And there are people that have created catch cans and different things for it, and I'm experimenting with that soon. What will that do to your engine long term? I don't think it's going to ruin anything. Do some research on that, but it does affect performance on the bike over time, and it just makes the inside of your bike messy. And it's like when you know something's not operating really the way it should, it'll bother you psychologically. It does for me. So I don't like that there's a couple of those things. I don't like that these engines run hot, but hey, welcome to Harley Davidson. These things run really hot. So that's why having the good oil pump, having the mid-frame fan is a good idea. I've also turned on, I forgot what they call it, but what it does is if you're stopped, it turns off the gas to one cylinder, so it's just pumping air, which cools off the engine. It feels weird when it kicks in. Some people don't like it. I don't mind it. I forgot what they call it, though. It's kind of a Harley's built-in feature that helps try to keep the engine cool. And, I've seen mixed results on that, but I think it cools at like 5 degrees maybe. It's not a lot, but anything you could do to keep the engine cooler, the longer it's going to last. So the heat. What else? Really, there's nothing else. I'm not even kidding, and I'm not just saying it just because I have the Harley. It's heavy, it's hard to move around, there's some mechanical issues that can be overcome. No bike is going to be perfect, and this surely is not. But I just love my Harley Davidsons. This one, and I've got a Road King as well. Listen to that engine. I'm cruising down the road here. It's beautiful. And I'm on a Harley Davidson. What a life. just living the dream. If you're interested in one of these kinds of bikes, look at the Road Glide or the Street Glide. The Street Glide has the Batwing fairing, the Road Glide has the Shark Nose, or the limited versions of each one, which basically adds the tour pack and a couple of other tiny little things. Take them out for a ride. Go to your dealer if they even have any of these bikes right now, and take it for a spin. Now, you can't really get a good feel for a bike in 10-15 minutes. See if you can get one overnight and get a feel for it. You might have to leave some money with them or something, I don't know, but get a feel for the bike, get a feel for the weight, for the maneuverability. You know, try to get as comfortable as you can, as much as you can on a test ride, and see how you do. I would even look for a used one. You know, this bike was used. It had 1,800 miles on it. The previous owner had upgraded the exhaust and the mirrors. Everything else I did that I listed out. And it was a great bike. I can't remember why they said they sold the bike. I think they were moving, and they were moving to a place where it wasn't practical to have this bike. And they took really good care of it. Used bike. Saved me 10 grand at least. And it's beautiful. So see if you can find a used one. That would be great. Try to avoid getting new. I try to avoid getting new as much as possible, but I have a mix of used and new bikes in my fleet. But yeah, if this is something that you're interested in, take it for a ride. Or if you got a friend that has one that trusts you and willing to let you ride it, and like I said, you've got a year or two experience and you're okay with heavier bikes, take it for a spin. Now, if you want the refinedness of Japanese bikes, when I say refined, I mean smooth, quiet, no hassle, good center of gravity, then go get yourself a Japanese bike. It's great. It's fine. I happen to have a few, and I love them. But if you're going to pick one bike, and if you're going to spend 30 grand or high 20s, or it depends if you're getting a used one or not, then better be sure. Because that's a lot of money to throw at a bike only a month later to find out you made the wrong choice. 2019 Ultra Limited. Awesome bike. The cool factor at a 10. This is the bike you want if you're going to put on some miles. Go get it. Hope you enjoy yourselves. Stay safe, everyone. Keep the rubber side down. Take care.